I have a lot of interesting beliefs, and it was suggested to me because I've talked about different things over the time that we've been doing Billified podcast, that I explore these and create a new podcast called Billightenment. And I've been thinking about this a lot, but not taking much action in that way. And out of the oblivion, I learned about Sheila Tillich through a mutual friend, and I was intrigued because just before I flipped the camera over to Sheila, Sheila is an educator and trainer in energy practices and energy psychology teaching. And I have said for years, we are all energy, therefore you are eternal, because energy cannot die or cannot go away. And then changing conscious belief systems into empowered living, which I think is really, really important. And sometimes it's one of those that I would say is easier said than done, and that seems to be the real work. Sheila can help remove blocks in your energy field, balance and cleanse your chakras, uncover patterns limiting your beliefs, help learn techniques of building personal resilience against stress, and help guide you to move forward on your personal spiritual empowerment path. And I thought, let's give this Billightenment thing a go and have Sheila in. And I'm really, really pleased that you agreed to do this. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And I see here that it's Reverend Sheila B.,
Yeah.
a universal master's healer,
Right.
master healer. I guess I want to start with the question, what are your kind of core beliefs, about energy and what we are and that sort of thing, where we come from?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I also do shamanic work, too.
What is also like a shaman?
Shamanism, yeah,
Yep.
right. And so I've always been intrigued with nature,
Yeah.
but I also was intrigued with more of the divine, and I've always been able to communicate with the angels since I was a kid.
Okay.
So I always knew it was I was special type thing. But I believe that, your life is what you make it, and that it's all about your values and what you believe in and how you actually are programmed. In other words, how you relate to different things in your life and how your life turns out.
Right.
But I always like to be positive. I know sometimes it's hard to be positive all of our lives, but it is that I believe you have two choices. You can live in peace and harmony, or you can live in fear and turmoil.
Right.
And that's what I believe in.
There was, which sort of always intrigued me and kind of got me thinking more this way, believe it or not, was a comic who I always thought would be more of a lecturer. And his name was Bill Hicks. And Bill has passed. He passed many years ago, back in the early 90s. And he was more of, I hate using the term cult comic, but he was kind of in that circuit here and very popular in England. And he did one of these last things, and he said at the very end of it, it's one of my favorite pieces, he goes, "It's just a ride. It's just a ride with frills and spills and up and down." And he goes, and then some people come back to tell us and remind us, it's just a ride. Don't take it so seriously. And he goes, and then there's those people who go, kill them, get rid of them. What are they doing? Yeah. And he goes, and it's just fear and love. That's all it is. Fear says, buy more guns, put bigger locks on my door, keep people out. Love says, let's give. And he said in it, and I'm going to misquote it, and I didn't even think of it till now when I was thinking about talking to you. He said, if we took all the defense money, we could feed the world 3 times over, whatever it is, over and over. And it is something with just fear and love, but sometimes we get caught up in the drama. We like the drama. I think that we like the drama. I think that sometimes even when life is so simple, like it's gotten easier and easier as we've evolved, we have smart TVs, we have this, we have that, everything at our fingertips. We still want drama, so we'll go out and create it in some way, whether it be on a grand scale with wars or fights or whatever. We create this kind of garbage, which then leads to, okay, so are we the creators?
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. We make our own lives, our own choices. And a lot of people don't understand that we have so much wisdom inside of ourselves, but we don't believe in ourselves. And that is from a lot of the programming that we've had in our life and also drama in our life. And how do I bring peace in my life? So love and fear has to do with having peace or fear.
Right.
So what I try to teach people is to go inside, be in the present moment. And a lot of times people say, oh, you mean mindfulness? No, I mean go inside and just be quiet and let your wisdom come through. Let your wisdom, meaning your divineness, who you really are as a soul.
Yes.
And then, of course, I'm metaphysical, so all the the people, your loved ones that have crossed over, your communication with them.
Tell me about metaphysics, right? Because we don't metaphysics. Boy, I think the only time I learned about it in an academic setting was in philosophy classes and more intro philosophy classes, where you learned about like metaphysical and what that was. And there were great thinkers of their time that knew that there was something beyond this, and the very simple philosophical idea that the being that is in the tree is the being that is in me, and the being is in all things,
right?
Whatever the being is. And I dare I say, Sheila, I think religion, and can I be very, very coarse and forgive my French, I think religion has fucked the world up. I'm sorry. I hope that doesn't offend you.
That's the programming stuff.
Yeah.
That's our programming stuff.
Why did we do this? I mean, when we look back at the first drama, the first war, it was crusades, wars over religion, over what was right. And I often think now, as an older guy, I was brought up in the Catholic Church till I was 7. And then we switched, and we went to church every Sunday. Mm-hmm. It was such a big deal, Sheila, in my family that my mother, who the roots are from Southern Ireland, that we were now Protestant, that my grandfather wouldn't talk to her for a year.
Yeah.
Do you see like the ridiculousness of this is over religion?
I know.
Same God, same, right? I mean, I believe the Catholic Christianity at its base. And I went, this is insanity. It
is.
Right? It's insanity. And when we start to think, like, I think that we've misinterpreted what Jesus or Yeshua or however you would say it.
God source.
What's that?
God source.
Yes.
Whatever it is.
Yes. But he was a messenger trying to tell you how to live and that you have everything. And then the idea of, and I don't want to hear you, and I apologize for talking so much.
No, it goes good.
But when he said, I am the way, the truth, and life, I think he said, my way, be my way. I think that was misinterpreted. I don't know, but I've read many people who are more scholars.
Yeah. Well, my view on metaphysics is that meta is above and physics is the energy around. All right. So when you think of the scholars and the magnetic field and stuff like that, but metaphysics is changed completely, I think, in the last 20, 30 years. And there's a reason why, scientifically, for that. And it's actually about the energy fields have changed now, the magnetic field of the earth. But how it affects us is the actual consciousness grids. And when I was talking about energy as consciousness, okay, what you think is what you project out. And so things have changed over the last 20 to 30 years, and that is scientifically proven. But of course, mainstream, all right, and what we learn, it's not in there yet. It's not in there yet.
Do you think that some of that comes from, I don't want to say, well, I'll ask you, is it ignorance, or do we think that the general population couldn't handle that? Because I'm starting to think that we've had alien encounters for years. I even have read things where the assassination of President Kennedy was supposed to happen in 1968 because he was going to reveal all the things about the alien contact, and they killed him. And then somehow there was a glitch, and they went back, and they killed him in 1963. But that energy of whatever happened in 1968 affected both his brother and Martin Luther King Jr. It sounds completely insane. You say that to somebody who goes, well, there's a loony bin around the corner. You know what I mean? Exactly. But I go, well, wait a second. I want to be open-minded to this because I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I like to call it learning about the new news.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
New news meaning things are going to be changing. And yes, there are going to be a lot of things that come out about President Kennedy's death, and of course his nephew Bobby Kennedy is running with Trump now, but there's a lot of things that was back there that was being controlled, all right, and it's all about society, how they look at things, not to change anything. So now we live in a new energy, and I'm a new energy educator explaining what actually changed. And what changed was our mindset, is that humanity didn't want the wars anymore. And it really started with President Kennedy, when he had the nuclear wars and everything that was going to happen. So if you go back there, but also it was about humanity. Remember, we just came off a big war, World War II, and then Korean War too, about all the missiles and stuff that was going to come. So it was changing, but we as society, I think, really wanted to have the peace and wanted to do different in our souls.
Yeah.
Right? And so things have changed, and it's a different mentality now. And also now with COVID and everything that happened there, well, that was part of the course of what was going to happen in this new change of thinking, new consciousnessly thinking. So that's the metaphysics, all right? That's what energy is about, metaphysics. And when you were talking about aliens, well, Native American have always thought that we came from the stars, and we did come from the stars. So our DNA is higher evolvement from the stars, right? And scientifically, they have proven that with the chromosomes. However, mainstream doesn't want to do that because it's, it's big money. We evolved from apes, our books in Christianity, this is the way it is. But in reality, it's all about love to begin with, all right? And as you said about Yahshua, Jesus, it was a master healer, and he came to show about love.
Right.
But we changed it. It's like change and control, and humanity's been about control.
Yeah.
All along.
Right.
Things that have been hidden for a lot of different reasons, but mostly so that the ones in control don't lose that control. And so keep everybody dumb.
Right.
Don't tell them what's really is going on. But it is playing out the way it's supposed to. All right. So it has to play out because people have to have time in their physical bodies. Now, when I go back to energy field and we are all electromagnetic fields of energy. That's how our heart beats and how we breathe in and out. And it's all connected with the energy around the earth and how people are behaving and thinking. Now, everything is changing since COVID. It affected the whole world, but there's a lot of reasons why it affected the whole world too. Things were slowly coming out, and they call it the light and the dark, or, the evil, But I like to think of it as a different frequency, all right? So the frequency is the way that you think and how it comes out and plays out in your life, all right? So since COVID has happened, a lot of people are realizing, hey, something doesn't seem right, and it kind of forced us to take our power back in our own lives.
Yeah.
All right. So many good things came from COVID. A lot of bad things came out of the control and what was happening. But if you think back over all the years before, a lot of control was going on, all the way back to Kennedy, way back World War II, everything.
Right.
Things have changed.
Yeah.
And there's a new news now is that you can take control of your life. And it's all about you going within, take your power within.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, well, how do I do that? I don't understand it. Well, you have choices. We've all had choices. But there's consequences from those choices, of course. And that's what keep us stuck.
Okay. All right. So I have come to this belief, and tell me where you stand on this, that you can have or be or do anything you want. And the universe is going to unconditionally support that, whatever it is. So if your mindset is a lack of, you remain in the lack of.
Exactly.
And you can't find a way out.
Exactly.
And I often think you met my 14-year-old son.
Yeah, he's great.
I try to, when there's basic coaching stuff, right? I remember my coach. We'd lose a game. He'd be a little softer. We win a game. We were running harder and but we didn't care because we felt great. Exactly. And it was a win. And I always try to equate that to the thoughts and try to say to people, when you're in the zone, you can do more. You feel better. You're pushing yourself further. And it's almost like more and more good things happen and good things come to you. Yeah. Is that us that's our creation, right? Exactly. So I'll always say because I have 3 sons, he has 2 older brothers, somewhat significantly older, 8 and 10 years older than him. And I'll say to the boys, you could have 3 things going well and 1 going bad. You focus on the bad and everything's going to fall apart. You could have 3 things going bad and 1 going well. Focus on the 1 going well, and then the others come along. Just that we're not trained in that, and it's very, very, I find it hard myself. Easy to say. I love saying it because it sounds great. It makes me feel good to say it, to be quite honest with you. But to actually put it into practice is difficult.
Okay. Now, so look at it this way, Bill. You are putting it into practice because you're teaching it to your children.
Yeah.
Right? Because you have a different way of thinking.
Yes.
Now, think back to your own childhood, your own parents. They didn't know this. They didn't know how to teach it. What we have gone through in the last 30 years is new wisdom, really new ways of doing things. So I'm quite a bit older than you, and I have grandchildren your age. So I, can't undo what I did before. And what I was taught is what I was taught.
Right.
But inside, those angels that I talked about was saying, no, this isn't right. You need to do this. And I listened.
Yeah.
That's the whole point about being present, listening,
Yeah.
and then doing different. And then therefore, now I'm a role model, and you're a role model to your children.
Yeah.
And they're learning new ways of doing things. And that's the new programming. Okay. So many people don't understand that.
If you've been hurt at work, I'm sure there's many things weighing on you. How can I take care of my family? This is Dennis Kenny from Dennis Kenny Law. And for over 25 years, I've helped the American worker. Our firm has been built solely on representing injured workers and their families. Call us for a free workers' compensation consultation at 1-800-610-4401 or book us online now at DennisKennyLaw.com. That's DennisKennyLaw.com. This is Dennis Kenny, and I help the American worker.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
You need, just like the oxygen mask, as a father, you need to put that mask on first.
Right.
And you need to think and say, well, things that what I was taught doesn't make sense. So I'm going to teach my kids this way.
Right.
And that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're saying, just make an effort and look how, you feel good. Stay in the feel good.
Right.
And the people that don't, help them. And that's about having compassion. And
Yes.
it's about compassion. That's
Right.
what love is.
Yes.
So when you keep it in compassion, then everything kind of goes. And then sometimes it doesn't, you don't get what you want, which is okay. And that's about life experience as well. Maybe that door needed to be closed. Maybe that wasn't the right thing for me.
Right.
And that's what usually happens, is that you think that things are bad are going to happen, and they happen because you say, oh, this is going to happen. You put that in the energy field, but then it's like, now, wait a minute. Now, I don't want to cheat. I don't want to talk that way. So think about keeping in the positive, all right?
Yes.
Or it's the way you think. So if you think about the game, it's about the game, having fun, about learning new skills, about building, comradeship and, how to relate with somebody, and how to work as a team. And think of that way. And it's like, yeah, but it will give you such beautiful gifts or wisdom for the future to make in different directions in your life.
Right.
Making different choices in your life. So it's really good. And I love how a lot of the young families now, they're saying, no, wait a minute, just like COVID was good because it forced them to be with the kids, to do different and to slow down and take the time to do things that they couldn't do before.
Right.
That's part of the good news.
That's interesting that you say that, because so many people worked from home, were home, better bonding experience. I often have a horrible thought about people selling their house in 20 years and they, during COVID decided to do some home renovations, but they really weren't that good at it. So you're going to have a bunch of really shitty home projects. Well, it's from 2020.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah, I know that's always just my way of going, because everybody, hey, we're going to do a project. I'm like, have you even know?
Have you done it before?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's why you get
Do you know what
YouTube
2x4 about? Well,
Google.
YouTube will teach you. All that stuff is there. You can learn it. That is true. It's just
you can
trial
be
and
taught
error.
anything, but whether you do it well,
That's kind of my point. But that's interesting. Let me go back to where you said, because it almost, I think the word that kept coming to my mind was our expectation. How many times do we go, knew it was going to happen?
Yeah. But that's
saw that coming a mile away.
Okay.
You brought that on.
Exactly. And
but we don't think that way.
And that's the role that you have. Those are the choices that you have. And it's about your thoughts.
Yeah.
So you say, okay, it's going to happen. It's happened before. But haven't you had the part where intuition, where it did work, say, okay, I'm not going to go down that road.
Yes.
And that's your inner source.
Yes.
Your God source telling you.
Yeah.
And then you go down a different road. And if you would have gone down the regular road, you would have been in an accident.
Right,
okay?
right.
So think of it that way. Yes, it is about your thoughts and how you think. But also, I knew I should have gone there. I knew that was going to happen.
Right.
So right then you're going to say, okay, now maybe I should make a different choice. Maybe I should do different.
Yeah.
So it's the wisdom. It's the learning. And you can't undo that wisdom, right?
No, you can't.
You can't.
You can't.
You can't.
So is it a good idea sometimes to check yourself, so to speak? You
Absolutely.
to like, even during the day, where am I? Because I think meditation's very good to just quiet your mind. And I'm not saying for any other reason, but just to quiet your mind, almost go inside and just quiet things down. And sometimes inspiration hits during that because you're a little more open to the messages that are there.
Now you're in my territory.
Okay. That's where we're going.
Now you're in my territory.
Right.
So inspiration touches you. Where does that inspiration come from?
I usually think then it comes from your inner being or your source, right? Exactly. And I would say that your inner being is always with you, never stops you from doing anything. But anytime you feel negative feelings, your inner being doesn't. So you can go over there with your inner being, or you can stay on this path.
Right.
And that life never. So I think the problem is, like, for me, I can only speak for myself. I think that sometimes the thinking makes sense to me. But then the reality is, woo. But then I think, okay, life's never going to stop coming at you, but how you react to it and our knee-jerk reaction, which I feel is most of our program stuff from when we're very, very young.
And it limits you.
Limits me? Sheila, holy mackerel. I mean, I can't even. And I'm 53 years old, and I'm figuring this stuff out now to kind of go, well, hang on a second. You need to shed that because that's not real. It's not real. I think that people will say, what's the meaning of life? And my answer back nowadays is there is none other than the meaning you give it.
Exactly.
Would that be fair?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And we are spiritual beings.
Yes.
Living a life in the earth classroom.
Yes.
Learning to live life as a human.
Right.
And people don't realize that they can make a big difference. And it is the programming. So when I talked about energy psychology, it's about the limitations in your life,
right.
What limits you, and the programs that you were taught, that is what limits you, your fears and your
right.
anger, your resentments
right.
when things don't come through.
Right.
And then it's the way that you think and believe and your behaviors. So a lot of people, in recovery or whatever, they have behavior problems, all right? And they actually put it on that problem instead of, wait a minute, let's go back inside. What are they feeling inside? What's really going on?
Right. What's the root of it?
Exactly. What's the root cause? And so for my own story, I had to go back into my childhood and heal some of that stuff. And also, I became an alcoholic like my parents did, all right? That's something that I never wanted to be. That was the worst thing. But now it is the biggest gift because I'm a recovery metaphysician and I can help people understand psychosocially. Why did they pick up whatever they picked up, or what was the tools that you used to survive? Yeah. It's all about survival.
May I ask a question about that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm very open about that.
Well, not so much maybe your story as I always think that we're told it's a disease. And I have it in my family. Like we've done rehab with people and all kinds of things. But I'm not sure that it's a disease and people get angry. I think it's a way to mask something else. What's the root cause of it? The root cause to reach for the bottle wasn't the bottle. It's not sitting there calling you. Although I love Guinness and sometimes it calls me, but you know what I'm saying? It doesn't. And yet we go and then it becomes, well, that person has a disease. I always think there's something going on that you need to figure out to heal that, because then you won't need that. And I think that we were meant to feel good. How many times in psychology did they do acid back in the day, right? And people would say it's euphoric. I think that's how you're supposed to feel without the acid.
Exactly.
But we don't. So then that's where I want to get back to that feeling. Alcohol, the same thing. I want to get back to that feeling. Sometimes alcohol, you feel good for a little while, and then you go take a sharp left turn, and all of a sudden, things are getting thrown, and there can be an ugly side to that.
Exactly. So I have a lot of different feelings about that, or thoughts about that, but also life experiences. Mm-hmm. So I have been in recovery for codependency for over 40 years, from my childhood and also my marriage, but also from alcoholism for 31 years. And I did put myself in rehab. I went through Al-Anon, and I went through AA, went through all that stuff. But the thing is that what I learned, it's not the amount that you drink, it's the reasons why you drink. Now, let's take it away from alcohol. Let's talk about debt. Let's talk about emotional eating. Let's talk about control and, trying to be perfect and all the other things that you have. So on my website, I have a program called Sobriety Through Spirituality. And it takes you back to your childhood and understand, why did you do the things that you do? All right. How did it come out? What was the root cause of trying to be accepted? And a lot of times when people start the drinking, all right, it's to cover up the feelings inside of not being loved or not being listened to or whatever.
Right.
Now, when I got into recovery, all right, yes, they said it was a threefold disease, all right, of physical, emotional, and mental, okay?
Well, that makes sense,
Yeah. I don't believe that anymore.
Okay.
Because I truly believe I'm not an alcoholic anymore. They always say once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic, or once a cucumber, always a cucumber. You can't go back to being, once a pickle, always a pickle. Go back to being a cucumber. I said it the wrong way.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, but it's like, it is about the way your body metabolizes it. And there's different degrees of alcoholism, all right, from social drinkers to alcoholism. However, I came from medical, and I always wanted to learn more and more about medical and how it affected my body. And then when I started getting involved with holistic stuff for my own healing, all right, and I was already in recovery for things, looking at the things I was resentful for and angry for and stuff like that, I was able to step in. Now, wait a minute. So I can change my life if I do these things? You could. And it's emotional stuff. Today, I feel that my cellular structure is different, is because I healed a lot of the emotional stuff that was within my tissues in my body, on the physical, the emotional, mental, and also the spiritual.
So then disease is dis-ease.
Dis-ease. Anything
in the body.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not only just alcohol, gambling, control, anger. Anger is a big one, all right?
Why would you say it like that? You know something
because,
about me? Do you know something about me?
Yeah. No.
I'm teasing. I have dealt with anger issues for years.
Well, I didn't know I was so angry until I got into recovery.
If you've been hurt at work, I'm sure there's many things weighing on you. How can I take care of my family? This is Dennis Kenny from Dennis Kenny Law, and for over 25 years, I've helped the American worker. Our firm has been built solely on representing injured workers and their families. Call us for a free workers' compensation consultation at 1-800-610-4401 or book us online now at DennisKennyLaw.com. That's DennisKennyLaw.com. This is Dennis Kenny, and I help the American worker.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.
All right.
Yeah.
And when I was the only woman out of 12 men, and I just didn't want, they were all different walks of life. And here I was, a housewife,
Yeah.
And what she said was, what are you feeling? What are you feeling? And I wouldn't give in. I said, I don't know what I'm feeling. I don't know what I'm feeling. And she kept saying, what are you feeling? What are you feeling? And finally, I screamed out, I don't know what the F I'm feeling, because I didn't.
Right.
Because I was afraid to feel, because I knew that I was going to cry. And once I started crying, I would never stop.
Yeah.
Because there was so much pain and anger inside.
Yeah.
And so that's why a lot of times people stay in those stuck relationships or anything in their life, is because they can't face the pain of the anger.
And the fear of what comes next.
Exactly.
I always
can't
think that's
live with it. You can't live without it.
I always think probably the biggest fear for humans is uncertainty.
Oh my.
Why? Right.
Control.
Well, why do we? Exactly.
Control.
Exactly. Sure. It comes back to control. That perfectly said. I think that our fear of death is we don't know what comes next. So therefore we go so afraid. And I'm starting to believe all the resistance just goes away.
Exactly.
And it's blissful.
When you talk about the fear of death, when I was in nursing school, I went to nursing school after I got sober. And part of my classes was hospice care.
Yeah.
And I started doing private hospice, and I loved it. And that's when spirit really came out, that I could communicate with spirit and beyond the normal stuff. And so many people, I have had a lot of tragedy in my own life, right? So I've dealt with death in that way. And so many people are so fearful of dying because of what they've been told, that they're not good enough or they're not worthy enough.
Right.
And so much guilt.
Yes.
Okay? And once you can get past that threshold and let the palliative part of with the family is that we're all souls, and what we learned was just to survive on human earth. But really there's more to us than our physical meat suits, as they call it.
Yeah.
Okay? We are a soul, all right? We have a lot inside of us, and that it lives. All right. But the pain of feeling guilty that you're not worthy enough is where a lot of people actually fight dying. All right. But they also fight about crossing until they're ready. And a lot of times it has to do with family situations. A lot of family situations, they'll want to keep them there. All right. Yeah. And the person's just spun out. They really want to cross over, but they want to have peace. When they leave, know that everybody will have peace over it. So that's where a lot of the palliative care comes in.
Okay.
All right. They wait, like a lot of people will wait until the whole family's there before they pass over. And of course, it's the black sheep in the family that never had anything to do with the parents, and the parents waiting for that black sheep to come in there before they die.
Right.
And then the other siblings that helped with them all their life, what am I, chopped liver type thing?
Yeah.
But it's all part of letting go and putting, closure on things that need to be put closure on.
Okay.
There's a lot of things.
You've seen it up close, and I have seen it from a bit from afar through friends and things, and even I've had my grandparents pass, but my parents are here, and it's interesting though, because when you were talking about crying and not stopping, I had my mother became a level 3 Reiki later in life.
Okay. I love that.
I
it's like, oh, why couldn't she learn this when I was a kid? Then she'd be a different mother, right?
I don't know. I don't. Yes, and I try not to. I always think this when you look back, because what did Freud was big, and everybody blames their mother. And this, my father has referred to Mother's Day as National Blame Day because everybody blames their mother, right?
I have a lot of stories about that with my mother.
But and there are things that had happened to me as a child that later on I told my parents about. And my mother was very upset and tried to do things to rectify that. But when she did a Reiki healing on me and tried to move energy out, there was a point where she said to me, wow, your head is very calm. I thought you'd be busy. It's not as busy as I thought. And I said, I think my energy is pretty good. But there was, in my head, I started to think, Mom's taking away the bad stuff. Sheila, I started crying, and I couldn't stop. She lives in Rhinebeck, New York. I don't know.
I know where that is.
Yeah, I know. I figured you did. The Omega Institute and things are down there. Yeah.
Down by White Plains?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where I grew up. And it's a 4.5 hour ride back. I had to sit for 15 minutes. I wasn't boo-hooing. It just wouldn't stop.
Yeah.
It just did not stop. And I went, there's something that we don't know or ignorant to. I think you do. I think everybody, I don't know that anybody, and I'll see how you feel about this. I don't know that anybody, when people go to psychics and I want to know what's coming, right? Again, a control thing. I don't know that anybody can tell you the future, but I believe they can read your vibration and tell you, if you stay on this path, most likely this is what will occur. And if you don't like that, well, then you've got to change the path and raise the vibration or do something. And I think that's it. Maybe I'm wrong, but
you're not wrong. You're absolutely right.
That's kind of how I see it, because I don't know that anybody can tell you the future. And then there are people who will tell you, well, it's already happened. All we have is the now, and everything that you're seeing is from a different perspective in the now. It's all happened at once, which you try to think that way, your head will explode.
Right.
Right. So, or there is no time, and there is this, it's an illusion. And very, very brilliant people who we hold up on pedestals have said these things.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not talking religious. I'm a physicist, and Edison and Albert Einstein. And yet we kind of, Yeah, whatever. Because why? I don't know why.
Well, a lot of us don't know any different.
Yeah.
Right? Inside, our soul knows why.
Yeah.
And we all came here at this time on purpose. That
Yes.
I do know.
Okay, so you choose to come.
Oh, you absolutely do.
Yeah.
And you choose the families that you pick. You choose a family. I know a lot of people
Sheila,
say, "Oh,
come
no."
on. Why would I do?
And
No, I'm teasing.
now, that is
I'm
because
teasing.
it is the wisdom that you need to learn.
Yeah.
Now, I say that is because when you talked about your mother being a Reiki master, well, my older sister was a Reiki master.
Okay.
Right? She's my oldest sibling. And there was 10 in my family and 8 kids of my parents, and I'm number 6.
Your parents really liked each other.
And yeah, we've been to Vegas too. And it was all one marriage. Yeah, one marriage, 8 kids. So we have a good chuckle on that one. But the thing was, I'm number 6, and everybody has passed. I'm the only one that's left. And I have been able to communicate with every single one of them when they passed. And I've actually helped 3 of my siblings pass over, by the way. And I was just thinking about that today. And they still come to me.
That's heavy.
It's really heavy.
Yeah.
Last year, I had 3 in my family die within 3 months. My sister-in-law, who was my brother's wife, my sister, and then my daughter-in-law. She was like my daughter-in-law, the one that had the baby with my son.
Okay.
All right, within 3 months' time. Right. And it's about grief. And it's really about love. All right, now think about that. So when I share about everything happens for a reason, and you pick the family that you want, I kind of share this a little bit about when my brother Bob died in 2019. Okay. Now, my brother Bob was my closest sibling. He was 6 years younger than me, and he was a staff sergeant in the Marines. And at that time, there was only one other sibling alive, and that was my sister Jackie, who died last year. So all those family members that died over the years, I was able to have communication. And my father died when I was 15, so this goes way back, all right? And I had a lot of resentment towards my parents, and I wasn't able to change any of that until I got into recovery, and I became a medium, and I do all that too. And I was able to heal all those issues in my tissues, my own resentment, my anger, and stuff like that. But back to my brother Bob, is that when he actually was brain dead for 5 days. He was brain dead. And my brother and I was we were taking a break from each other, all right?
Okay, yeah.
We were estranged for 8 months, all right? And we had done that 3 times in our life. And so when he actually had
Consciously,
the heart attack,
or did it just happen? Like you just
well, what happened was we had a big fight
Okay.
about who he didn't want at his funeral. And it was about my will. We're talking about my will. And then he changed it to his anger about his friends that he didn't want to be at the funeral.
Okay.
So there was a lot of but what happened was he was yelling and screaming at me in a restaurant. And I said, no, we're going to boundaries. We're not going to do this anymore.
Right.
You can't do that. So when I talk about fear and anger, the anger is deep. And my brother was very much a very spiritual man. And he also was in recovery like I was. And I'm not going to say his last name, but he was very spiritual, but he lost a lot of friendships because of his anger came out. Of trying to help him see his anger, and he didn't want anything to do with it. So what happened was when we were estranged, he had a heart attack, and he actually was almost brain dead when they got to him. When we got to the hospital, a lot of our friends from the program was with me, and the doctor came in and told us that he had about 20% of his brain left. And so I said,
Hey, it's Ryan Seacrest. Life comes at you fast, which is why it's important to find some time to relax. A little you time. Enter Chumba Casino. With no download required, you can jump on anytime, anywhere for the chance to redeem some serious prizes. So treat yourself with Chumba Casino and play over 100 online casino-style games, all for free. Go to ChumbaCasino.com to collect your free welcome bonus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Recently, a new client called me and started by saying, Mr. Morgan, I really need your help, but I'm just a nobody. Those words stunned me, and I immediately called him back, and we're now helping him and his family after a terrible accident. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Everybody who comes to our firm at their time of need is a somebody. I grew up poor, but my grandmother was like a queen to us. At Morgan & Morgan, our goal is to level the playing field for you and your family at your time of need. The insurance company has unlimited money and resources. You need a firm who can fight them toe-to-toe. For right at 30 years, we have fought them in courtrooms throughout America. Our results speak for themselves. And always remember this, everybody is a somebody, and nobody is a nobody. Visit forthepeople.com to learn about our firm, Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
What do I tell my nephew who lives down in New Orleans and my sister who was in Albany? And he said, get them here now. And right after the doctor left, my friends were in the room, and all of a sudden, everybody came to me. My parents, all my siblings, all my guides, all my angels, everybody came to me. And I said, again, how can I do this again? And I started crying, and they said, this is what you're here to do. And you're going to live it, and this is what you do. And immediately, my brother Bob came right before my face, not like the anger he was at the restaurant, but he said, I'm not coming back. You know what to do. I'll be calling the shots, and I'm standing right beside you. Now, that's exactly my brother, Bob. He had always said that. We've gone through a lot of stuff in our life, and the reason why he didn't want to come back was that his healthcare proxy. He did not want to be a vegetable in any way.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah.
And then I knew what to do. I was his healthcare proxy when he went in the Marines in the late 70s.
Okay.
All right? And then also, he'll be calling the shots because he's a master Marine, you know, it's his way or the highway, and that he would be standing right beside me because he always was.
So,
and that's what happened.
But did you feel like the resistance for him was gone? The anger was gone?
Well, the thing was, that's the whole point I was going to tell you this. Yeah. We live for this wisdom.
Yeah.
And we pick the families that we are born into to learn the wisdom, to be able to relate to people. Okay? And Bob chose to have all that anger, and all of my sister too. My sister was as a Reiki master.
Such suffering, though, right? I mean, it's such suffering.
Well, suffering is how we learn to have compassion for somebody.
Okay.
Okay. So if you haven't gone through it, and let's say, well, I just don't understand. You know, why don't you just stop drinking, whatever? Don't realize there's a lot more to just picking up the drink.
There is.
There's the core reason,
yes.
the root cause. Okay. So that's where when you go to counseling, you know, how you feeling, and that used to really tee me off. I'd go to counseling and they would say, okay, how are you feeling? You know, I says, and they say, okay, that's good. We'll pick this up next time. You know, it's time. Yeah. And then you walk out the door and you're a basket case. It's like, give me some tools for God's sake.
Because you're all stirred up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when you know, this all came about me become a recovery metaphysician. And when I started working on myself holistically in the 90s, is that I learned it's like you need to connect with a person from the heart, compassion. All right? You need to be able to connect. It's called intimacy.
Okay. Yeah.
Intimacy.
Yeah.
Intimacy.
Never heard that.
Exactly. Well, that's what recovery is all about when you're in the rooms and all that stuff. So with my brother Bob is that we were always close like that. But once you cross over, you are just pure soul. You don't have any of the hate or the anger anymore. However, you might have the same persona if a medium is bringing it through, which I do, is that you will say the same things and say it and act the same things as their persona was in that lifetime.
Okay.
So that you would recognize them.
Okay.
But their soul is all pure love.
Yeah.
And you purposely live that life so that when you come back another time, you can do it all over again.
Right.
But the difference now is that we are changing in this energy and that we can live in this higher frequency. And as when we cross over, we can come back. We don't have to start over again. That's the difference. And that's the scientific stuff. So that would be another conversation.
I find it all like
fascinating.
Fascinating. But I'll ask you, when you talk about the issue in the tissues, right,
yes.
and healing, so many people, and it seems like as a collective society, we're much more open to talking and seeking therapy and getting help. But are we really healing ourselves? Because how do you do that? Right? We'll spend lots of money. We'll spend an hour, like you said, once a week or whatever, talking to somebody and going through things. And I was against talk therapy for a while in the thinking that
cognitive therapy. It's called cognitive.
Yes. Well, that's yes. No, that's exactly. I like that better. But yeah, because I think I always refer to it as talk because it felt like you were just talking about the problem and therefore you stayed stuck in the problem. there was almost no solution. It was, everything's terrible today. And you wouldn't believe this now.
I know.
Here we go again.
And they're writing down. They're like,
Yeah.
it's like,
And I go, but you feel like you stay stuck there. And then, so what is the healing process to go back and do it? Because I often think that all you have is now, and you've got choices. So go with the one that feels best. Do it to the fullest ability without any real consequence, or I shouldn't say consequence, but any real worry about the outcome. Just do it to the best of your ability with no desire for an outcome. And the outcome will be wonderful.
yeah.
But those are great things to say.
Okay. So when you talk about issues in the tissues, I'm
Yeah.
gonna kind of make it really simple for you.
Okay.
Okay. So everything you've experienced in your lifetimes, all your lifetimes, is within your energy field. And your energy field is within your DNA, your spiritual energy field, your
Okay.
DNA. So everything you've experienced is within you. And then in this lifetime, you have energy, things that happen to you that get stuck in the energy field. So when I talk about issues in the tissues, I'm talking about block emotions.
Yeah, sure.
And there's different types. Most of it people here feel is the shame
Yeah.
and the anger and the guilt.
Yeah.
Okay. And so when I work on people, or the modality that I do, I'm a conduit, and I bring all those energy blockages away, and then I imprint it with positive in that energy field. So you feel nice, harmonious, right? And that's why Reiki is about bringing the energy into the chakras, and the body slowly heals itself.
Yeah.
Integrated energy therapy and unity field healing, which is higher quantum energy. That's the new energy that's here. That's what I specialize in with energy psychology, is that you are bringing it into, and your body knows, your DNA knows the harmony. They knows the peace. And so the more you do it, the more harmony you have, but also your soul will actually tap into that wisdom. Okay, I need to make different choices. And that comes through the talk therapy or
Yes.
the cognitive
Yeah.
therapy. That's in the field, but also the practitioner that's working with you can help you understand where these blockages come from, how they got there, and then the choices, to come and think differently or release them that you can't undo, but you can move forward from it and use the wisdom from that to make different choices.
So right, and I think sometimes we and it's not the wrong word I was going to say, but the word trauma is used often.
Well, post-traumatic stress,
Yeah,
trauma.
So, which I believe is very, very real for
Well,
people.
I know it is.
Yeah,
I lived it.
and but I sometimes go, boy, these words mean things. The old saying that sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Words are powerful. You got to choose the words
Those are the emotions
carefully.
that get stuck within the cellular memory.
Yeah, and I think that stuff is very, very important. And I know it sounds weird when I say these things. People must look at me like, what the hell is with this guy?
Well, they're not used to talking about it.
Yeah, but I really believe that there's real power there, right? Real power, because a lot of times the words come from the way we think, right? They're a thought first.
Consciousness.
Yes, and so you want to have that. But sometimes I often think with trauma is, yes, bad things have happened, or what we deem to be bad. And you can either dwell on that or use I always like to think it's contrast. I know what I want and I know what I don't want, right? And sometimes something worked for a while, and a very, very simple analogy, one that has upset people is, I love the car, but I outgrew the car.
Yeah.
Now, right, I had a 2-seater and now I have a family. It doesn't work anymore. It's time to get into a new car. And that sometimes those are the changes that you need to make. And I think that fear holds us back, and then we get angry, and then we blame other people. Is it fair to say, and I believe this, and yet sometimes I don't know that I true in my core really believe it. Everything that happens to you is your fault.
It's called the victim role, huh? Blame, blame, blame.
Well, yeah, but I mean, and I mean that good or bad, no matter what, whatever has happened in some way, you brought that on. And this is a giant magnet up here that you are attracting, and that's all there is. There's no real assertion. There's only attraction.
Yeah, but you can change that with the neurotransmitters by the way that you think.
Right.
And the things that you do.
Yes.
So you can regrow some more cells and change that. It doesn't always have to stay.
No, it doesn't. I think that does change.
That's the scientific stuff.
I think there's also, when you talked about DNA, I believe that there's DNA that is not coded in the human body. Would that be, am I wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that they're starting to study at places like Harvard and Yale, the uncoded DNA and how to awaken that, and the power of water. I think I talked to you briefly about Nadi water and the healing of that. And I think it's called Ayurvedic medicine. Ayurvedic.
Yeah, this is one type. Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if I was saying it the right way. But more of a, I guess we say Indian culture.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Okay. So I don't know what this gentleman did, Dr. Deep. He sat there and he held my wrist and pulsed and did this and that, and then said, we'll give you years that are blocking you.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Recently, a new client called me and started by saying, Mr. Morgan, I really need your help, but I'm just a nobody. Those words stunned me, and I immediately called him back, and we're now helping him and his family after a terrible accident. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Everybody who comes to our firm at their time of need is a somebody. I grew up poor, but my grandmother was like a queen to us. At Morgan & Morgan, our goal is to level the playing field for you and your family at your time of need. The insurance company has unlimited money and resources. You need a firm who can fight them toe-to-toe. For right at 30 years, we have fought them in courtrooms throughout America. Our results speak for themselves. And always remember this, everybody is a somebody, and nobody is a nobody. Visit forthepeople.com to learn about our firm. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Years of where something happened. And basically he said, put it down. Now, we have all said, everybody has said at one point, let go and let God. Let go and let God, right? But that's pretty much the same thing. Just let go. But, man, we can't. We can't, because if we let go, what happens next? And I think that's the problem. So when I'm very curious, I guess for me in a selfish way, how do you do this healing so where you really can let go and every day can be, I'm not saying that, I had an incident the other day where I'm trying to get a replacement Social Security card. It was such a clusterfuck, but so entertaining. Like, I found it delightful. I went in there and I had my bag, it's over on the chair over there, and I'm trying to get the kid to eat something in the morning. He doesn't want to eat. I had bought these croissants that have a sausage, egg, and cheese, and you just throw it in the microwave. You know what I mean? Something simple. I can just, let's move along here. Yeah. And I always have normally what I would refer to as this is terrible, my prison breakfast. I usually eat 3 boiled eggs and an apple.
That's very good for you.
I know, but I call it the prison breakfast because it's easy and it's easy to carry. Okay. But this day I had that. I get to get my Social Security card. They go, any food or drink in there? And I said, yeah, I got it. You can't have it. So I got to go all the way down to the car, put it back in. Now I come in. I get all through the bag. I have to go through the security. I'm getting wanded, belts off, the whole thing. Uh-huh. I get over to the machine. I type in all this information. It's supposed to give you a ticket like at the DMV. Uh-huh. I hear it whir. Nothing comes out. Guy goes, what happened? I said, I don't know. He goes, do you remember the number it showed? I said, I think I do, but I'm not sure. I was going to depend on the ticket. He goes, well, you better get over to that machine and re-enter the stuff. And he goes, this one's probably out of paper. I said, okay. He walks over, goes, yep, it's out of paper. Does he go get paper? No, Sheila. He reaches down and picks up an out of order sign and just puts it right on there. Yeah. And I went, this could drive you nuts, or you could be very entertained by it. It's not like anything bad's happening. You know what I mean? There's nothing bad. But that's the kind of stuff that I think when we talk about trying to live, it's in those moments where you could really go off. Like, I got to re-enter this now. What the fuck is with these people?
A lot of people do, and that's the anger inside. Yeah.
Yes. And I have would normally be that way. But for whatever reason, I was going, this is somewhat entertaining. I was entertained by it.
Yeah.
And I get to talk on my podcast about, all this stuff. And so to me, everything's a story, right? It's a fun story.
Our whole life is a story.
Yes.
Yeah.
But in those little moments, those are the things that make up life. Those are the things that can really bring on the dis-ease. You reactivate something in you that isn't healthy.
Yes,
when
right.
we're finding as you're talking, and this is why I think it's so important to talk about these things. How many people have high blood pressure and stress because they can't, it's your thoughts.
Exactly.
It all starts in your head.
Well, that's what heart math is all about.
What is it?
Heart math. So
I couldn't even do algebra, so.
No. No,
Teasing
no,
you.
it's
I'm
not what
teasing
you think.
It was a joke.
Heart math is about, it's through Heart Math Institute in California.
Okay.
And also Heart Math Institute and Harvard University and Nassau.
Yeah, see, all these, this is why I think it's so important to connect that stuff so people go, this is legit.
Well, this is what I do. This
Yes.
is what I do with the heart math. Now, in the energy sessions that I do the modality called integrated energy therapy, which is about the issues in the tissues. And it's all about heart linking the energy, okay? Heart Math Institute is about self-resilience against stress and trauma.
Right.
How do you build that without any chemicals?
Right.
And it's called the heart coherence technique, is where you think about the things that that your heart desires, things that you love, that you're compassionate about, that you love, and you think about it in your head. So you make the connection between your heart and your head, and you just do regular breathing, okay? But the thing is when you're in that regular breathing for a good 5 minutes, okay, your body self-regulates. It has to do with your heart rate. It's called the heart rate variability. And it's where your body goes balanced, just like a newborn baby.
Yeah.
Now, when you go into that, you work with the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system.
Okay.
Which means your blood pressure, your adrenal glands, how you process, your digestion, everything. So once you learn heart rate variability, when you learn heart coherence, all right, breathing, and you do that, there's actually 5 different levels. What you're actually doing is building your consciousness level of perception and feeling and reacting. And as you change the chemistry in your body, you get more relaxed. So that when that's what you were doing. You were actually, you didn't get all upset about that ticket, whatever.
No.
But also, you knew that you were going to meet me. But serendipity in coincidences, no coincidence at all.
No.
So that's the new energy that's here. That's the new news that I like to say, is that there's a way of doing things differently. And you do that by experiencing it. And usually it's by synchronicity and serendipity. You meet somebody that does that. Hey, I'm attracted to that. How did you do that? How did you whatever? And so it's by reaching out with that compassion from your heart, bringing that heart center energy out.
Every day when you log into ChumbaCasino.com, the ultimate online social casino, you get a free daily bonus. Imagine if you got daily bonuses in other parts of your life.
I chose French fries over loaded French fries.
I asked Stuart from accounting about his weekend, even though I don't care.
I updated my operating system without having to call tech support.
Collect your free daily bonus at ChumbaCasino.com now. And live the Chumba life. VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Recently, a new client called me and started by saying, Mr. Morgan, I really need your help, but I'm just a nobody. Those words stunned me, and I immediately called him back. And we're now helping him and his family after a terrible accident. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Everybody who comes to our firm at their time of need is a somebody. I grew up poor, but my grandmother was like a queen to us. At Morgan & Morgan, our goal is to level the playing field for you and your family at your time of need. The insurance company has unlimited money and resources. You need a firm who can fight them toe-to-toe. For right at 30 years, we have fought them in courtrooms throughout America. Our results speak for themselves. And always remember this, everybody is a somebody and nobody is a nobody. Visit forthepeople.com to learn about our firm, Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
into me see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that works with everything in your life.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So I like working with with law enforcement.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Also from healthcare workers, because I was one.
Mm-hmm.
So we wear the biggest mask.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Because we have to do the work that we do, especially all the trauma and all the gory stuff that we deal with. Once we take off that mask and we go home, then our lives fall apart, is because we don't know how to live in coherence of who we really are as a soul. We have a role to play, and that's how you're programmed. So when you go back and look at your life as that, this is what I always did and this is what I was taught.
Right.
I don't know how to relate to things. All I know is how to get angry,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you need to change.
Right.
And so how do you do that? You go within without any chemicals, and you actually train your body to do that. All right. And so what happens is that you start to change.
Yep.
And that's where I said putting the oxygen mask on first as a father.
Yeah.
And then you role modeling to your son how to different things that you never had before.
No, I often think that sometimes you would almost say it's selfishness, right? But that's a great analogy of putting that on it. But if you're not okay here and you can't handle stuff, how are you going to be good for anybody else?
Exactly. And in integrated energy therapy, when I teach that, when we heart connect, it's about compassion. It is about selfishness. It's about spiritual selfishness.
Yeah.
All right. Taking care of yourself first.
Right.
And that's the heart connection that you have. And that's okay. But we've been told it's selfish of us to take so much time to go and meditate.
Yes.
So that's the programming.
Yeah. It's funny because I have been meditating for years. I think I'm terrible at it. My mind goes bing, 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 and it takes me a while. And sometimes I have to really concentrate on my breathing. But just to your point that all of this is connected, I had an EKG and I was a little worked up. So I just went into that state and I set off alarms because my heart rate got so low. It got below 45 or 44 beats a minute.
Yeah.
And mine's normally around 50. But I was like, you can do it. You can control all of this. Is within your control. And the knee-jerk reactions are the problem. They're usually not the right one. So I always say, like, give it a beat and try to find. But, most of this it's just silly. It's just silly drama that we like. I always think of the Shakespearean line of we're just players who strut and fret our hour upon the stage and then are heard no more, right? Isn't that sort of what it is?
Yeah.
But you can live. You can actually live. Why wait to die to have the freedom?
Exactly.
Right? When you can do it here.
Exactly.
The problem is it's easier said than done. And I think that's where, going to someone like you or learning or listening to this, I think is fantastic. How do people find you?
You go to my website. It's SheilaTillich.com, and that's SheilaTillich.com.
Okay.
It's
sometimes it'll autofill when I just for people.
Well, that's good, but it is pronounced Tillich.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No. But it's actually said Tillich.
Tillich.
It's German. My ex-husband's name. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can go there, and also I teach classes on it.
Okay.
All right. So integrated energy therapy is about the issues in your tissues, but a lot of practitioners like Reiki masters or massage therapists and doctors and lawyers, and I teach everybody. They want it for another certificate on their wall or to appease whoever.
Yeah.
IAT, I teach, is about you healing first.
Yeah.
You understand your own stuck blockages, the actual trauma within inside you. How did it get there? So that once you understand that, then you can have more compassion and to be able to help other people, right? So I have 4 different levels, but the first 3 levels, I do it in a weekend. And that is so that you can start using it on yourself right away. And the 3 levels, I teach all 3 at the same time, meaning I incorporate some of the stuff that you learn, techniques in the first one, so that it kind of flows. And it's called an intensive workshop. And it's actually the first 3 levels. When it was first taught, it was taught the clinical for people who didn't know anything about energy at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we've expanded since then.
Yeah.
All right. But I try to bring it into your life now. How can you have peace within your life and heal yourself? A lot of people say, well, I don't need to heal myself. I'm perfect. Well, you are. But how do you live in life?
Mm-hmm.
In the drama of life, and live in life on life's terms.
Right.
All right.
Right.
And also the programming, the things that you always did, and you know that it's not working anymore. You're feeling at dis-ease.
Yes.
Right. So how do you change?
Yeah.
And it always starts about you first, and then it's a ripple effect.
Right.
The ripple effect of the energy that goes out. It's all about energy. and your choices that you make.
Yeah.
Love or fear.
Right. It is, and it's so simple, and yet not.
It's not, yeah, exactly.
It's my thing, because there are times where I go, I know I need to connect. I know what the right thing is. I know I need to let go, but I'm so stuck in my habits, bad habits.
So that area is the shoulds that's on your shoulders. And it's called the stuck shoulds, the shoulda, wouldas, and couldas.
Yeah.
If only if, and I know that's where you're beating yourself up.
Right.
And so once you release that, what the angels put back in is freedom. No more weight on the world.
I often think all the time, like, what is money? It's freedom. It's the ability, right? And you can really get yourself thinking wonderfully. And if you can stay there, that's when everything works well.
The problem is that you can be in meditation and be great, feeling great, and you go out into the world, and then you get triggered by the energy of somebody else.
Yes.
So that's where the energy field comes into play.
Yeah.
All right. And understanding that you're always going to get triggered.
Yeah.
By somebody or something. And haven't you ever gone into a room or whatever and you didn't like somebody, you don't know why?
Yeah.
It's because they've got so much stuck inside them, the energy you feel, the anger, like my brother.
Yeah.
It's like it comes out, oozes. It doesn't matter how spiritual you are. If you've got locked stuff inside there, it comes out and you get triggered really easy. And it'll take you right back to stuff that never got dealt with.
Right. Yeah.
So those are the triggers in the energy field.
So what is the method for dealing with something and letting it go?
Go within. Just go stay in the present moment.
How
important is it?
Yeah. Do you go in and just kind of realize like that it's not significant today? That's not anything that, you know what I mean? I mean, there's many different things, right? People suffered sexual abuse or something along the way. And there's anger out of that. There's things, lives have been altered because of that. Your thinking in a way has been altered, right? Which is really, life is lived in your head.
Right.
And I always wonder, like, how do you, I don't know.
Maneuver it?
Yeah, because I always thought, well, you got to be like water. Water gets around the rocks. Water can be calming. Water can be wonderful, or water can be destructive.
And water is you can energize the water and get more healing.
Yes.
Because your body is made up so much
of
water.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Right. So that is what you put in is what you get out. Right. When you talked about meditation, I had a hard time too. I'd have to do this. And, to go up to consciousness field. The difference in the energy now is you can get there in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
All right. And the thing is being present, like I said.
Yeah.
Close the doors, light a candle if you want to, but just be present. And I always talk about this technique called SIP, sit in present. And it only takes about 3 minutes a day. And what you do is that you take some nice deep breathing, all right, just to get yourself relaxed. Make sure you're alone, close the door, and just sit in the present moment. Set your alarm for 3 minutes. And then go within inside and say, what do I need to know today? And then a lot of times all this stuff comes in your head. Just let it go by like clouds. What do I need to know today? And the whole key is that your helpers, your soul knows it. And they will come. They will give you direction. They'll say, do this, do that. And then you say, well, how do I do that?
Mm-hmm.
The thing is training yourself to sit in the present moment so that you can listen and hear your inner source talking to you, the power that you have inside.
Yeah.
Okay. And so it's only 3 minutes, say, well, that was quick, that's not doing anything. Well, it's repetition. Right. Go back into it. You have to train yourself to be in a different energy. Think about that.
Yeah, you do.
And
you
how
really
you
do.
relate to people.
Yep.
So I actually learned that from one of my mentors, Suzanne Giesman, all right, who is called SIP, and she put sit in prayer. So you go inside and you pray. What do I need to, whatever, if you're going to do rosary or whatever. But I kind of turn it around and go back to the power that you have inside.
Mm-hmm.
Each and every one of us have our own power. But a lot of times we give it away to everybody else.
Sure we do.
Instead of going with inside.
Right.
So that's what this new news is about. You have the power. You can tap inside. And it is scientifically proven. We can do a whole show on that.
Yeah.
And I can
see, those are the things that I love, and I think we should at some point. This is fascinating to me.
Well, I just had one of my mentors, and one of the team that I'm part of is Lee Carroll, who channels Cryon, and he's part of the high scientific field.
He channels, I don't know.
He channels Cryon.
What is that?
Cryon is an entity, an angelic entity that came here to Earth.
Yeah.
In 1989.
Okay.
All right. And it talks about how do you change your life? How do you deal with life situations? And it's all about the new energy, what has changed in the magnetic field. He's called the magnetic master. And Lee Carroll, the gentleman Lee Carroll, he actually wrote the book Indigo Children.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
Recently, a new client called me and started by saying, Mr. Morgan, I really need your help, but I'm just a nobody. Those words stunned me, and I immediately called him back. And we're now helping him and his family after a terrible accident. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Everybody who comes to our firm at their time of need is a somebody. I grew up poor, but my grandmother was like a queen to us. At Morgan & Morgan, our goal is to level the playing field for you and your family at your time of need. The insurance company has unlimited money and resources. You need a firm who can fight them toe-to-toe. For right at 30 years, we have fought them in courtrooms throughout America. Our results speak for themselves. And always remember this, everybody is a somebody, and nobody is a nobody. Visit forthepeople.com to learn about our firm. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Oh, I've heard of that book.
So everybody's heard about that.
Yeah, I've never read it, but I heard about it.
Well, what the book is really all about is that how...
I think I saw it in the bookstore in Rhinebeck. I'm not kidding.
Exactly. And it's about children that are different now, like ADHD, ADD, Asperger, all the ones. But they're really children that are born after a certain time when this energy has changed in the earth. That's the new energy. That's what I teach. Okay. And so everybody kind of, my child is different. They can think differently, and they have a mind of their own or whatever. That's right, because they're at a different vibration.
Right.
It's all about frequency, higher and lower frequency.
Yes.
And so when you think of negative or positive, just think of negative as a lower frequency,
right,
or the dark.
Right.
And the other is light, it's a higher frequency.
Yeah.
And so what is happening now is that a lot of the dark stuff is coming to the light.
Yep.
It's coming out.
Yeah.
Humanity is changing and realizing we can't do this anymore. We have to change.
Right.
That is what is the new energy. And so the children, what medical picked up on it, they started medicating them.
Yeah.
It's all about chemicals.
Yes.
All right. Because they don't know how to do it any different. It's all, medicine is about chemicals and stuff like that. When energy medicine is about turning inward. Without the medicine, you can use it if you need to.
Right.
But in it, you really go inside and do the healing with inside. And so children that are higher frequency like that, they learn differently, but they also have more of imagination and things come into their field. That's the new inventions that are here now, the young ones. All right.
See, that's the part that is fascinating. I think imagination is the greatest thing you can have.
Oh,
and
it is.
Albert Einstein talked about imagination.
Elon Musk,
Sure. Yeah.
is,
Yep.
And he is a great inventor, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Oh, it's so much.
Sheila, I could go.
I know.
Forever and ever.
I could too. I love it. I love seeing your, because I can see, it's like,
yeah,
I can finally talk to somebody. She understands me.
Yes, exactly. And I'll leave it on this. And sometimes I think this is because we did talk about things that trigger people.
Oh,
right. So I believe that everything in your life is a different segment.
Yes.
Right. You'll leave here.
Parts of the story.
It's a new segment. It's a new segment, and I think you can segment intent. And that even if there's somebody that you have had a problem with, but you have to be around them, think of the positive attributes of that person, if you can, or something. And that's usually, you'll get more of that and less of the other. Would that be fair? Is that a right way of thinking?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm
Absolutely.
Because I say this stuff, and sometimes I think people think I'm goofy.
And then just think about the bullies.
Yes, right? Exactly.
So hurting people hurt people.
Yeah.
Healing people, heal people.
So I will say, I shouldn't admit this, but I've become very, very aware of this now, that when I'm hurt, something really kind of wounds me or doesn't add up, I want to
hurling,
so you feel how I feel.
Exactly. And that is
terrible.
Well, that's kind of like the victim role. Well, I'm going to show you type thing.
Yeah, I don't like it.
But that's the issues in the tissues.
Yes.
That is where you've been, beat up so much, and that the shame and the guilt and all this pain that's inside.
Yeah.
But when somebody does something to you and you get triggered by it, it's like, all that old stuff comes into your field.
Right.
And so you learn it by understanding what those triggers are. How did it get there? How did it get there? How did the guilt and the shame and the anger and resentment get there?
Right.
It was not being heard or loved or listened to or feel like you should be loved. Right. So it's a misconception, in childhood. My parents was brought up in the 30s, in 50s, and I was born in the 50s. But they taught us what they knew. They didn't know any different.
Well, see, that's what I always think. I started to say earlier. They did the best they could
with what they
knew. With what they knew, and I sometimes now see myself going back to things I saw at those programming years when you were sort of programmed, and I go, "That's not how I want to be. That's not who I am. That's not who I really am. I don't like that, and I don't want them to see that, and I don't want to be that way." But but it's taken this long to kind of get there and realize, and I can control it through my thoughts, and you don't need chemicals necessarily. Yeah, and I would say that to anybody who's listening, who if you take medicine, I always think that some of those are a tool, right, to help you be better.
Oh yeah.
And you said that. You said
you do
yes.
both.
Yes.
You do both,
Yep.
and I do both. Right.
Yep.
And a lot of it is my brain chemistry for depression from all the trauma.
Yeah.
All right, changed it. It's like I have a hard time focusing.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm the last one to want to take meds. However, I knew I needed help.
Right.
And so I got help.
Right.
And there's no shame in that.
No.
You use, just like a diabetic, you need the insulin.
Yes.
You don't, just because you don't want to take it, it's like, okay, now, thank gosh that now we have the actual medical inventions that help us be able to regulate our insulin. And we have it.
Yeah.
Before we didn't. So that's the good science that we have.
Yeah.
And it's always about evolution.
Yes.
Okay. Evolving.
Yes.
This new energy is about evolving into a higher frequency or a higher ascension.
Right.
All right. So I'm a galactic grandmother, which means I help people understand the higher wisdom within inside themselves.
Yes.
Right? Through my own experience and stuff like that. But I will to help somebody to understand that they do have the power.
Yeah, you do. You do.
You have it.
But
how you use it.
Yeah, that light has been put out in a lot of people.
Exactly.
It really has. It's
self-worth.
kind of like your pilot light has been put out on your water heater. And
yeah,
you
it's
need
just
to
like the people
fire
that
up.
are ready to die. They don't feel worthy. They don't feel worthy and they feel guilty.
Yes.
And they're afraid.
Right.
All right. Instead of, you are worthy.
Yes.
Everybody learns all this stuff. That's what my parents said. I came here to learn what I needed to learn.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here to do.
And I always think like one of the hardest things for humans to do is be unconditional and unconditional loving. I almost think it's an impossibility for humans, but your inner being is that. And you are loved so much that whatever you want to be, do, or have, you can, whether it's negative or positive, it can be. And it's sort of we label it negative or positive. I always think this, you never get it wrong, but you never get it done.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right? You never get it done.
That's right.
Right.
That's what I say.
Yeah.
Never stop.
Never stop. You just never get it done because we're always evolving and there's always contrast and there's always the things. And, on a sort of a simplistic philosophical way, you never get it done. And that's a good thing.
That's right.
You don't ever want to get it done because
right.
eternal beings can't.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think we'll end it there. This has been fascinating. I loved every minute of this, Sheila, and I hope you'll come back sometime.
Oh, I will. Just invite me back.
All right, fantastic. We'll do more of these, and I am going to call them Billightenment. I think
it's great.
This will be a little teaser for people to get used to what that podcast will be, and we'll put it out, and you can become a sponsor of the program. It'll be $3 a month. Billified will remain free, but podcasts like this will go behind that paywall.
That would be great.
And you can find that out, and we'll do more Billightenment. But Sheila, man, I feel like I found somebody I know now.
Oh, yeah. I'm here.
For Sheila, I'm Bill Moran. Thank you for listening.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. Everybody needs some variety in life. That's what I love about Chumba Casino. They know how to keep things fresh and exciting. All their games are free to play, like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire. You can claim free daily login bonuses, too. And they release new games every week. So spice things up with ChumbaCasino.com now for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Bada boom. Sold.
Huh?
Just sold my car on Carvana. Dropping it off and getting paid today.
Already?
What, you still haven't sold yours? You told me about it months ago.
Is
the offer good?
Oh, the offer's great.
Don't have another car yet?
I could trade it in for this car I love.
Come on, what are we waiting for?
You're right.
Let's go.
Whether you're looking to sell your car right now or just whenever feels right, go to Carvana.com and sell your car the convenient way. Terms and conditions apply.